Hello and welcome to a new panel discussion as part of the LiSEC Virtual Fair All-in-One Solutions 2021. For those who didn't watch anything before, we broadcast direct from the production site in Seitenstetten, Austria. And now we are talking about some mega trends like digitalization or sustainability. And therefore I have interesting guests and experts. So I am happy to welcome Gottfried Brumbauer, CEO, Oliver Pichler, CFO, Mr. Ebner, Director of Digitization and IT, and Mr. Reichel, Director of Supply Chain Management. Let me start with you, Gottfried Brumbauer. We have 60 years of Lysac this year, and that means also 60 years of know-how in glass processing. What would you say, how does Lysac remain active and agile despite 60 years?
To be at an age of 60 does not automatically mean not longer to be active and not longer to be agile. So just look at me. There's all the time a lot. There are all the time a lot of changes in the economic systems and in the demand of our customers, and a lot of mega trends, as you have mentioned. And I think Lysac has shown during the recent years that we can very flexible and very adapt to these changing requirements. If you take the changes and the optimization and streamlining we have done during the recent year or during the recent time in our worldwide organization, that shows that we are still agile and still flexible. Mm-hmm. And of course, for the future, we are watching the trends going on, not only in our business, but also worldwide, to react on it and to develop sufficient solutions for our customers, and that's the way how we will remain flexible and agile for the next 60 years as well.
And the innovations that I saw on the campus, that's part of these optimizations of these new ideas, and I was very surprised about how many innovations and new products you show. What I would like to know is, how do you get these ideas from as a machine maker?
Yeah, it's quite simple. The most important way to get ideas is to listen carefully to your customers and to watch how they are doing their business and to watch what they are aiming for. That's one thing. The other thing is to keep their eyes open and to watch what's going on around us in other areas of technology, in other areas of machinery, and in other businesses. Of course, our eyes and our ears to get all this information are our employees. And so we have established internal platforms to collect all these observations. Mm-hmm. The one is our product management, and the other one is an idea platform called My Idea, where we collect all this information, all these observations, and compress it to new ideas where we take our innovations out from.
Mm-hmm. And in addition, how does Lysac equip itself to remain relevant in the industry and the future?
The most important one thing is, as I mentioned before, to provide these new solutions. But another very important aspect is what we will talk for the next time is the digitalization and the digital transformation. And to make use of this technology to provide our customer with additional solutions, with additional services, and maybe also to extend our business model by this way. And that we are sure about the way to stay relevant in the industry for the future.
Mm-hmm. Johann Ebner, you are responsible for the topic of digitization at Lysac. Can you give us a brief overview what digitization at Lysac means really?
Yes, I can give you that overview. But first, we need to be clear about the term digitization. Digitization is only the conversion from digital to from analog to digital, and whereas digitalization is the use of new technologies and digitized data to define new ways how work gets done. And we at Lysac focus on digitalization and digital transformation. And we have three main topics there. The first is absolute customer centricity. The second is speed. And the third is change intelligence in the organization. And in a digitized world, there are a lot of disruptions in the markets, and therefore Lysac will closely monitor all those megatrends in society and technology to drive our innovations at all levels.
And if we look into a near future, what can we expect from the digitalization at Lysac?
You can expect new and digital modified business models. You can expect most attractive customer-centric digital products and services. You can expect more speed and agility in identifying and realizing those products and services. You will get a better customer experience at all customer touchpoints, and digitally optimized internal processes along the whole supply chain. And to sum it up, we strive for an agile Lysac.
Mr. Rumbauer, in these days, a lot of companies develop new business models, new methods. What would you say, is Lysac also considering new business models in the medium or in the long term? And if so, can you tell us which ones?
It's difficult to say just now how a business model will develop, but as Johann Ebner mentioned, of course, we have the entire business of our customers in our focus, and the first changes will be to offer complementary products, complementary services to really cover the entire business process of our customer. One example is our LiSEC dispatch to support our customers in their entire dispatch processes, which will be launched during, or which is launched during this fair. The next can be, or maybe will be, new ways how to make use of our software, new ways to sell our machinery to our customers, or maybe new fee models for using our software and our machinery, and maybe in the future completely new areas we do not yet cover with our business model. If you think on maybe upcoming technologies like 3D printing, like moving the added value processes closer to the construction sites or whatever. So there can be, or there will be, a lot of ideas for the future, but for the moment it's not really able to predict where it will develop to.
Perhaps some ideas come also from digitization.
Yeah, of course.
Johann Ebner.
A lot of them will.
Johann Ebner, that's directed to you. You gave us a brief introduction in digitization, which is very often limited to software, to machines. But what does digitization look like in service?
There are a lot of different ideas. Let me just give you one example. our customers need reliable plants, and therefore predictive and preventive maintenance is one of our goals. And a global asset management and a global condition monitoring of all machines and software will build the databases for AI-driven predictive maintenance models. AI means artificial intelligence. And with that, AI models, Lysic, will provide a way better and faster service, but also build more reliable and performant machines and software.
So we have also the sales department, and I would ask, how do you deal with digitization on the sales side? Is e-commerce an issue for you?
Sure, we already have e-commerce in form of a web shop for spare parts on our customer portal. But in the future, the machines should automatically order their necessary spare parts, the service technician, and even production materials. And there will also be an app store for where customers can buy additional applications and functions to enhance their business. And all of this will be possible with our next generation software stack.
Mr. Reichel, as we have an expert for supply chain here in the panel, I would like to ask you, will digitalization also have an impact on the supply chain in the future, or even perhaps right now?
Well, I think although we are not food and beverage industry, automotive industry, we will see an increase of transparency, and also we will get more information in real time. And I think this will take place in both directions. On one side, we are interested in about the status of our purchasing orders, or where's our material, or especially are there any disturbances or disruptions in the supply chain. And the other way around, also our suppliers will be more interested in to get forecast data in real time. And I think there are some buzzwords like blockchain, for example. From my point of view, in our industry, nobody knows really or exactly what does that mean today. But I think these technologies will help us to manage all these requirements. And at the end of the day, there will be a high level of automation, and the person or the purchaser or the human being then will able only any disruptions in the supply chain.
And another issue is also the digital twin, right? Which is part of this process.
It's a picture of the current supply chain where you can analyze some issues or simulate some issues.
And are suppliers or external partners involved in the digitization of Lysic?
Well, in the terms of digitization or the operational processes, we have been using now for years a platform and supplier relationship management platform where we do all our operational processes like RFQ, request for quotes, purchasing order acknowledgements, scheduling, and so on. And we cover meanwhile approximately 90% of our purchasing volume via this platform. But I think the next step will be a higher grade of optimization. That means that our system will recognize a demand, assuming supplier material prices is all clear, and our system will send to the supplier system the purchasing order automatically, and the system of the supplier will calculate lead time, for example. All these data will also be used by the supplier for his own capacity planning. And if there's no disturbance, the systems itself will interact without any human being. That means we'll get a higher grade of optimization in the standard purchasing processes.
At the beginning, I said we are talking about megatrends, whereas digitalization is one of these megatrends. And Oliver Picher, How does Lysic identify those megatrends?
Well, megatrends are in the end the result of socio-economic, demographic or technological developments, and like Mr. Brunbauer and my colleagues have already explained, we on the one hand side very closely watch the industry, watch what our customers are doing, are in close interaction with them, and obviously we also do a lot of market research, and these megatrends affect us at Lysac, but any other machine building company. And I think the challenges as a machine building company is to really make that smart evolution from a machine building company to fully digitalized solution and service provider, and thereby responding to those megatrends. And for this, we have set up our own digitalization team, and in order to really bundle our resources to gain speed. And I think for that, we are ready to counteract and exploit those megatrends of the future.
As we both know, sustainability and CSR, these are two buzzwords everywhere right now. You can read it in every economic magazine and so on. And I think it will become more and more important in the future. And let me ask you, when you, not personally, but Lysac, develop a machine, is sustainability important, or is it almost about efficiency?
Well, efficiency and sustainability at Lysic is automatically interlinked to each other. So if we develop machines, we want them obviously to be efficient, but if we look, for instance, at a cutting table, we try to reduce glass offcuts and thereby reduce the use of raw material. With other machines, we try to reduce other consumables or other production inputs like energy, electricity, or water. So by all of this, we try to be sustainable and to really allow not only us, but mainly our customers to really constantly improve the ecological footprint and thereby also to contribute to a sustainable future.
Mr. Reichel, sustainability also affects your supply chain partners, of course. What would you say, what quality criteria must the supplier meet at Lysac, also with regard to sustainability?
For sure, for us, sustainability is a high important topic. And what we do is that one part of our supply contract, a frame contract, is the so-called code of conduct for Lysic suppliers. And through committing of the supplier all these, I would say, not only ecological issues, but there are also labor issues or social issues. Then through these commitments, we can assure that he is following our strategy. And in the best case, for sure, we try also to consider not only the direct suppliers, tier 1, also tier 2 or tier 3, that means the entire supply chain from end to end, and also to cover all these requirements to the suppliers from our suppliers. And all the topics we're talking about is for sure packaging, the deployment of some certain materials, or even to optimize the logistics to reduce CO2. It's a huge topic. From my point of view, it's a little bit in the beginning because you need awareness for that. Also, our suppliers need awareness. And as long as our suppliers are in Europe, in Central Europe, I think it's easier to handle. Regarding the global suppliers, it's more a challenge for us.
Let's change and switch to another buzzword, Mr. Brunbauer, which is automation. For example, unmanned production. In other industries, robots are very common right now. They have a high penetration. Is Lysac now putting a strong focus on this topic too, and why?
First of all, For a lot of process steps, we are using single-purpose robots for many years now. For example, when it comes to the application of thermoplastic or flexible spacers like TP or VSA, but when it comes to the sealing of the complete IG elements, where we also use single-purpose robots. But during glass processing, there are a lot of complex, a lot of other complex handling and processing steps. And on the one hand, due to a lack of the availability of cost-efficient solutions on the one hand, and due to sufficient availability of workers on the other hand, of workforce on the other hand, there was not really the need until now for automizing these process steps. Because this requires, of course, another type of robotic, flexible 9-axis robots. In the meantime, these frame conditions have changed. On the one hand, there are much more cost-efficient solutions available on the market, and on the other hand, everybody's talking about the availability of workforce, of skilled workforce, has changed a lot during the recent years. And therefore, there is an increasing requirement of our customers also to automize these complex handling and production processes. For example, like bending frames, like desiccant filling of the frames, like utilizing rigid spacers or rigid frames, or like setting of these rigid frames. And that's the reason why we have a strong focus on automizing these process steps as well, by using, as I mentioned before, flexible multi-axis robots. And there will be a separate talk about this topic along this fair together with experts from KUKA, which maybe you should look at.
Mm-hmm. But I have one last question anyways.
Okay.
If we look at the automotive industry, we are talking about unmanned driving within a midterm future, let's say. And would you say that unmanned production is really realistic for the glass production?
As I mentioned before, it's possible to automize a lot of process steps much more than we did in the past, but nevertheless, glass is a very special material which can show unexpected breakage during the process, or there are a lot of consumables which are processed during flat glass processing, and there always can occur some unexpected problems, some unexpected interruptions. Of course, theoretically, it would be able to design mechanical solutions, to define software solutions, to handle all these unexpected occurrences automatically. But this would lead to costs, and this would lead to an effort which is not really, which makes not sense and which would not be acceptable for our customers. So at least there always will remain at least some kind of supervision by skilled and experienced experts to handle these unplanned occurrences along a production line. So maybe we will come close to an unmanned production, but from my point of view, it will not make sense from an economic point of view to fully realize it in our business.
Oliver Pichler, earlier in the talk we were talking about how important knowledge is, skilled workers are, and that's what you need if you are a company in the 60th anniversary year. Yes, you have to have a lot of knowledge, of course, and to be in a leading position on the market. What would you say? How does knowledge management work at Lysic, and how is knowledge further developed?
well, with 60 years and a lot of employees have a vast knowledge, but our knowledge management has three key pillars. Firstly is R&D, then an institutionalized continuous improvement process, and the third is innovation management. So if we start at R&D, we invest approximately 7 to 8% of our annual revenue in R&D. So I think that is a very good R&D quote in the industry, but also compared to other machine building companies. And so this is the R&D focus, but the other thing is really the knowledge of our employees who work on a day-to-day basis in our production, but also mainly out in the field with the machines of our customers. So they work with those machines during installation, during after-sales service, in consulting. So they have a lot of knowledge, and into that knowledge we tap into through our institutionalized continuous improvement and innovation process. So this is how we constantly really improve our knowledge, and together with what we learn also from our customers, try to expand our knowledge also for the next 60 years.
And Mr. Reichler, if you have a look on the value chain also, what would you say? How does it look like in the future at Lysic, or rather, what value creation will Lysic keep in-house in the future?
Well, I see two main fields. The first is the internal parts production. For example, the milling processes, where we focus on very large and complex parts. Then, of course, turning. Then I think very important is also the metal sheet set production, because if you have a look to our machineries, the metal sheets are very dominant. There's a first impression. Then for sure welding is a very important part. And last not least, we will also stick on the painting process. By the way, at the moment, we consider an investment for the next 2 or 3 years to invest in a total new painting line. And the second field, from my point of view, is the assembly process. I guess Lysac does have a special glass market engineering and assembly knowledge, which contributes significantly to the strong market position from Lysic in the market.
That leads us also to the importance of suppliers. I would say, how can you sustainably ensure that you don't have any supply problems? Or can you?
That's a very optimistic words, to have no supply problems. But I'd like to say we have a clear strategy. And the strategy is we have been focusing on our preferred suppliers. And a preferred supplier, we know each other very well. Preferred supplier have proven that they are technically and price-wise and from the reputation very well high-performing suppliers. And the goal is that we build up a trustful relationship, that also we as Lysac become a preferred customer for these suppliers. And have a look now for the last year, I guess with all those suppliers we have had, or we have a clear, good relationship. The supply was so far so good, let me say. And I think we will further stick on really preferred suppliers. That means less suppliers, but in a close cooperation. And we will also integrate the suppliers in our development processes, purchasing processes, and manufacturing processes. And I think the second point is that we try to listen very carefully to so-called weak signals from the market. That means if we, for example, recognize a slightly increase of delivery times, for example, really to get in contact with the suppliers, to analyze also, as I mentioned before, the entire supply chain. That means the suppliers from our suppliers, and to react on a very early stage. I think this is it's very important. Don't react too late, because then you have very less opportunities to solve the problem.
So if we go back to the beginning, 60 years anniversary, that relies on knowledge, on good ideas, on innovations, on always seeing the right megatrends, where is the way going, good partnerships, good suppliers. And so the last question is to the Chief of Finance, of course, Oliver Pichler. What steps is Lysic taking to ensure a successful future in terms of long-term financial strength?
Well, for me, the two key steps or the key issues in ensuring our financial stability is a strong operating cash flow and a solid balance sheet. And a strong operating cash flow is the result of good working capital management, so working closely with suppliers, with our customers. The second is a sustainable, long-term orientated investment policy. And obviously, the most important is profitable growth. So as long as we ensure that, and if we continue to be as conservative as we are, with a long-term orientated shareholder in the background, I think we're doing the right steps to ensure that we are also financially strong for the next years to come.
Thank you, and thank you all for sharing these insights, for your expectations, for your ideas for the future. And see you next time. And let's see how far you go and what the further steps in your strategy and in your innovations are. And I say thank you for watching.